And I'm Todd.
And I'm Tim.
And we are the Grizzled Geeks. Today we talk about
AI personal home assistants,
Westworld,
Luke Cage,
CW's Flashpoint,
the Batman.
Netflix is doing a series of unfortunate events.
and we'll finish up with yet another Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales.
Sounds like a lot of fun. All right, so first topic we had up was AI personal assistants. You would put in something in the notes about the Amazon Echo.
Yes, I saw an ad on one of the sites that I go to, or maybe it's a news blurb about Amazon's Echo Dot, the second generation coming out, and it was only $49.99. I thought, I've never thought about getting one of these things, but for $49.99, I wonder what it could do for me. So as I started looking at it, watching how the thing works, I'm like, basically, it's going to play music for you whenever you are walking around the room and asking, and you'll say something like, "Hey, Alexa, play me some light jazz," and then your stereo comes on for you. But Google Home has some other things you were telling me that are much more advanced. And I'm wondering, how far away are we, do you think, from where you really have a smart home where they become prolific, and like there's 10 houses on your street that are smart homes where people are controlling their refrigerator and their lights and their TV by just talking when they're in a room?
Well, I mean, you could do most of that now. It's just the early adopter stage of this. We're definitely not to the point where we have a personalized assistant that doesn't send all of our data back to the mothership, Google or Amazon or whatever. It's going to be something that lives out in the cloud, and that everyone has an instance of this, or not even really an instance. It keeps the threads of conversation going, and they're better about doing that now. But it's all going back to a central server to be processed somewhere else. It's not like it's personal code that I've customized for me. It doesn't get to know me aside from just reading data, or knows my email or my Google Calendar, and it can tell me what's coming up.
I want to get one just so that I can maybe, I'm going to send it down to Tim just so it'll be like, "Tim, this is Alexa. The podcast is starting in 10 minutes. Tim, this is Alexa. The podcast is starting in 5 minutes."
He's got responsibilities.
So you can talk to my daughter about that one.
Yeah, I know babies don't go to sleep on command, unfortunately. That's why God makes Benadryl, but
No.
save that for the long trips. That's all I'm saying. But so at $49.99, I might get one, play around with it, and I'll bring it in one time, and maybe we can demo it here on a future podcast, because I'll take a flyer on something for $50 if I think it's really going to be useful.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
so the one that you're looking at is the Echo Dot, the one that you had linked. That's the $49 one. There's a more advanced full size unit that actually will do more. So they can do more than just the audio, playing audio for you. A couple of my coworkers have them, and I forget exactly what they said they do, but they have them tied into their. They've got whole smart home capabilities. They've got their light switches and everything all connected, and I'm pretty sure that the Amazon device ties into it.
Yeah, I linked another article on there comparing Google Home to the Amazon Echo, just to compare and contrast the features and functionality. They're both going to integrate with things around the home. Amazon's been out a little bit longer than Google Home has. They just announced that a week ago, something like that, this past week. But they're going to integrate with third-party things. The Nest thermostat. It's going to be the Hue lights is another one, and all of these things are out there now. It's just sort of Wild West for these kinds of things. Like I was saying up at the top, it's kind of early adopter stage where people are trying to figure out what these things are good for, and the AI part of it is getting smarter, and the improvements as these things go along, are contextual conversations. So I could say, I'd really like to go to the winery tomorrow, and then it would say, oh well, the winery is opening and they've got this kind of event, or what winery, and then you would ask it another question about the context, and what's the weather like, something along those lines, and it knows that you're talking about tomorrow going to the winery, and it'll pull up the weather for that particular location.
Isn't that what I have a wife for? Sorry. So basically, $49.99 is sort of a gateway AI. It gets me in, and then I'm going to want to upgrade as time goes on and get these extra features. The second thing that we were going to talk about in the news, I really wanted to get back to what Tim put in there about the HP printers firmware upgrade, because this is sort of a pet peeve of mine, something I've complained about for years, is the proprietary nature of printer manufacturers with their ink. So, Tim, what was the deal with HP's firmware update?
So for their office jets, I think it was their office jets, they made a firmware update that made it so that third-party inks would no longer be able to be used. You had to buy your ink from HP. I've always bought first-party ink, but then again, I don't buy ink that often. And even when I was printing photos, I wasn't going through that much ink. But I understand there's legitimate reasons to go with third-party inks, especially with the size that the ink cartridges have gotten these days. They used to come in like 42 milliliter sizes. Now they're down to like 5 milliliters.
Yeah, and they dry up when you're not using them.
Yeah,
and it seems like a racket.
So they were pressured. A lot of people complained about it, and HP said that they've heard you loud and clear. They issued an apology, and they're going to put out an update, but it's an optional update. So if you don't actually go and download it and install it, they're not going to automatically fix your printer. But they're going to, in a future optional update, roll back the changes and make it so that third-party inks can be used again.
Third-party inks always hit or miss. I remember when I got my first Epson photo printer, the one that I had that was really good, it might have been the R200. And I went on eBay and I bought a continuous feed system. And the first continuous feed system that I bought was fantastic. The print quality that was coming out was every bit as good as the Epson cartridges I was using at the time. And about halfway through using up the tanks, unfortunately, it had a bottom feed system, the little fragile piece of silicone, and I set it down too hard, and the silicone on the red ink broke, and it began to leak all over the little desk thing that I had it sitting on. I didn't know it at the time, but I came in later and the whole thing was just red. And so I went back on eBay and I bought I could never find that one again. It was ironically, it was made in China. It was called like Gypsum instead of Epson. So I tried another brand. After that, I could never get another third-party ink to print properly. They all looked like crap. I could never get it calibrated. The colors were just off. And I eventually gave up on third-party inks altogether and went back to just using genuine Epson inks. But that was my experience with using third-party inks. I don't think that I think it should be your option when you buy something. And I would hope that people who are thinking about choosing HP, that could be a differentiator, just like for me buying the Sony PlayStation versus the Microsoft One. A big thing was being able to replace the hard drive. The fact that Sony didn't care if I went out and put a hard drive in there, but Microsoft wants to sell you a $180 hard drive. That was, let the buyers be smart enough to stop using companies that do things like this.
Yeah, I remember the third-party ink, the continuous feed system that you had. That's actually why I threw this in here, because I figured it'd be right.
Yeah, if you're doing photography and you're printing a lot, you're printing out and putting together a lot of books of photos that you want hard copies of, it gets really expensive.
Just use a third-party service at that point if you're printing that many.
Yeah, just go to the Walmart and do it. Probably better off. But I
Bay Photo, WHCC. There's plenty of online places. Not super cheap prices. They're not Walmart prices, but their print quality is going be better, and they're very reasonable.
Yeah, I agree. So, Mitch, do you want to jump ahead to arts, entertainment, movies, and TVs?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Westworld. I know, so actually the second episode's out already. They had a thing this year, or this week, a little QR, a little hidden Easter egg type thing where people could unlock it early. I forget what it's called. And so it's actually up and running right now. I haven't had a chance to watch the second episode, but the first episode, it felt like a really solid episode. They set things up. I'm definitely interested to see where the world goes. I want to know what's going on with those flies, landing on the face and causing these things to glitch out. Whether it's the flies that are causing it, or if it's something else, if it's just a bug in the program, whatever. And what's going on with what's his name? Oh, I'm terrible with names. Save me for that one. The
Hopkins?
Not Hopkins. The
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris. Yes.
Ed Harris's character. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out if he's human or if he's a bot gone rogue.
Well, I mean, if he's a bot, then he somehow hacked in and figured out how to get himself flagged as a guest instead of a host.
Yeah, that's something I'll be interested to see as well. I don't know which way they're going to go with it, but I liked what I saw of the show, and they've got me interested enough that that I want to tune in and see that. The thing you said about the flies was interesting because I didn't catch the fact that they said near the end she couldn't hurt a fly, and
right.
I would not be surprised if the whole thing with all the flies landing on them was just a setup for her smashing the fly in the very end. For them to say that and go, things are going off the rails. This is foretelling that these things actually can hurt a fly. Or
so earlier in the episode, a fly lands on the sheriff's face. They're out on the thing, and his eye starts going all over the place, and he starts glitching, and he's the first one that they call back. But the fly lands on his face right before he does that. And every single time a fly lands on one of them, they glitch out like that.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I completely glitch when flies land on me.
How did you guys feel about the little bait and switch they did right in the very beginning? James Marsden is on the train riding in with all the other guests. And, he steps off the train, and the main actress is oh, you've came back, and he's like, yeah, I promised I would come back, almost like he's visiting Westworld again, and then they spin that right around whenever Ed Harris pops in and tries to get him to shoot him. How do you guys think that played out?
I bought it hook, line, and sinker. They completely fooled me.
Yeah, I really like that. I thought it was really clever, and it means to me that they're going to try and be really subtle with things going throughout the episodes, and I'll have to really pay attention to try and figure out who's a robot, who's a human, and yeah, it does leave that question. Ed Harris, is he a robot? I mean, at this point, I think he's human, but maybe he's not. I don't know.
So do you think Anthony Hopkins may have put out that update knowing that they would rebel, as sort of as their creator, he wants to see them free. So do you think that's possible, that he's doing this because he's getting near the end of his time? He's like, I want my children to be free.
I mean, maybe that's what's going on. I really don't know. Like what direction the show's going. I'm kind of interested to see, what direction the season's going, but not only that, how they're going to give the show legs to last past this first season. We're just basically playing out the Westworld movie from the 70s. Things wrap up by the end of that, and there's not a lot of room for continuation next year.
I'm also kind of hoping that we get to see in the movie, they had 3 different types of parks. They had Westworld, then they had the Roman ancient Rome world, and then they had a medieval times world. And so that was one of the things I thought that was kind of cool about the original movie. When one of the robots goes crazy, he's fighting a guy with a sword, and he runs the guy through with the sword. And that was, kind of cool when I was a kid.
So I saw an article this week. They said that they're not going to bring any of the other parks in to season 1 of Westworld. It's just going to be Westworld itself. So you're not going to get to see medieval or Roman or anything like that. But I think that the Westworld park is enough to play out for a full season, and I'd like to see them play through just there.
Yeah, it makes sense to just stay, just even from a filming perspective, to stay in the Westworld park, because trying to film multiple locations, multiple different set types would be a pain in the butt, and they probably weren't sure how it was going to be received. But yeah, it's been an interesting show so far. I have probably watched too much TV because the James Marsden thing wasn't a huge surprise. I hadn't really been thinking about it, but it wasn't like, oh wow, it was just, oh okay, yep.
We should have known from casting choice. If you need somebody to play robot, wooden actor, robot,
Scarlett Johansson.
Not that bad.
Oh, stop picking on ScarJo.
Let's bring it back to last week.
So yeah, but when I see him, to me he's always going to be Cyclops. I just hey, it's Cyclops. And when the bad guy pulls out his gun, I'm like, get him with your I-beam, Cyclops. It just doesn't happen for me though.
It took me a while to recognize his face without the visor on.
Yeah, who really throws me off when I see them without a visor is the guy that played Geordie LaForge on Star Trek: The Next Generation. I guess he got his
cloudy eye things in.
He looks completely different when I see him on Big Bang Theory or something playing himself. Of course, I often forget when I was a kid and watching Roots, he was Kunta Kinte. So that's where LeVar Burton. That's where he got his start. But now I've taken us off the rails again. So
no, that's a perfect transition. Roots. A traditional. Todd's laughing and Tim's shaking his head no. So
where are you going with this?
No, it is perfect because we brought up Marvel and we brought up Roots, and now we're going to go to Marvel's predominantly black show. It's set in Harlem, Luke Cage.
So I'm just going to say right up at the top, we're 3 white guys, and we probably don't have a whole lot of right to go into too many places. We're going to try and keep it clean and happy, and please don't hate us for what we have to say.
Hey, I don't know if you want to say I've been trained by the media, but I'm very aware watching this show. I'm on the lookout for anything that seems racist in any way. And it's a shame because I like the characters, I like the show, and I'd like to be able to just sit back and enjoy the show and not have to think about any of that stuff. But like Marvel, they do a good job with their shows, especially on Netflix. I just was a little concerned about the setting of the show, and every time they say something, I'm sitting there going, are they being racially insensitive, or are they stereotyping here by doing this? I get really concerned about it instead of enjoying the show.
I wasn't so worried about any of that. I was really pleased to see the actors that they got to play, the parts in Luke Cage. I thought they were spot on for everybody that they picked. And I'm only a couple episodes in. I'm maybe 3 or 4 episodes in, but the main characters. I love the guy who plays Cottonmouth King. Also played another Netflix show, House of Cards, as Remy there. He was amazing in that. I've seen a lot of those actors in lots of other places. So yeah, they just had an outstanding cast, all the way around. So kudos to them.
One thing I'll say about the show, I'm almost done with the third episode. It's This train has been a little slow leaving the station for me. It's a little bit season 2 of Walking Dead like for me. A lot of setup. I can't help but think that some of this could have been covered in the first episode, but I know that one of the things Netflix likes to do is they like to take their time because they have time. They can fill out 12, 13 episodes and turn it, basically they're creating a 12 or 13 hour movie. So they have some time to kill, and it allows you to get to know the character so you feel lost when something happens to a character, which is good because it pulls you in, and they make the characters likable, and then they take a character away and you feel the loss.
I really think that's the advantage that Marvel and Netflix have in doing these series like they are. They have time. They have more time than a movie. An hour and a half or 2 hours to get through everything that they want to get through, to introduce the character, to maybe talk a little bit about their backstory, or do full backstory, and they can play it out over time. They don't have to do it up front, and then rush through it and dumb it down so that all the audience can follow along. They can piece it out a little bit here, a little bit there, and sort of build it up over time. And they've got time, with 10, 12, 15 episodes or whatever, to do a little bit every episode and really just take their time and craft it and be something beautiful. And unlike regular TV, Netflix can do like HBO if they want to go a little dark, or they want to go a little, sexy or whatever. They can do that, and we as adults who grew up, watching, or reading, comics about these characters, we're all adults, and we can watch an adult show about this, and it's just a huge contrast to 10, 15 years ago, watching all of the crappy fantasy and sci-fi movies and TV shows that were just, essentially treating us like little kids. So,
did you ever see the original Captain America movie that they did on? I think it was a TV movie.
I've seen bits and pieces of
it. Had Rebel something or other. I can't remember the actor's name. As a kid, I loved it. I was so excited to see it. And one time I watched some of it on YouTube because I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I watched it on YouTube, and I felt angry. I was insulted. I was like, that's what they gave us back then? Why couldn't we have had this stuff back then? But maybe it's so that we could appreciate it more now. We can appreciate the quality of what they're putting out.
I just don't think they knew their audience at all. They thought, this is based on comic books, and so it's going to be for kids. And we can do the same thing that we were doing, since the 70s with Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah. I love you, but that is a shitty cartoon.
Yeah.
The animation, the story, all of that kind of stuff. I love it, and it's campy and goofy as hell. But it's not good television at all. And that's what they were doing with everything else. They weren't respecting it, and they weren't respecting the audience.
I think all of these shows that are doing this serious now, every one of them owes a debt of gratitude to Bryan Singer. I knew when I sat down to watch the first X-Men movie and it started off in Auschwitz, I was like, okay, this is not your father's comic book movie here. This is different. And they were the first one to be successful treating it as a serious topic. And so I think everything that came after that was like, wow, you can treat this stuff seriously and people will still come see it.
Yeah, and there were movies that tried it before. I think the closest one before that was Blade, the first Blade.
Oh yeah.
I believe that one came out, but that one still, it was riding the edge. It was a little bit better, but it was still kind of a crappy action horror movie.
Plus, they were riding in a well-established genre. I didn't even think of that movie so much as a comic book movie, as a vampire movie. And at the time that came out, vampire movies were all the vogue. There was Underworld and all these other things. Yeah, some things that come out in comic book, I didn't even know they're comic book stuff every now and then. Like Human Target was a TV show I really enjoyed. I had no idea that was a DC comic. And I was really upset when they canceled it. Right around the time they canceled 3 or 4 of my favorite shows that I was enjoying. Chuck comes to mind. So
that's that's one thing I've really liked about Luke Cage and even the other Marvel shows is they have that comic book background, and I've been able to enjoy the shows. So they maybe, I know Mitch was talking about the trailer where Luke Cage coming out of the tank with the stuff on like he like comic book character wore.
A little bit odd to the original work.
He's got his bracers on, and that's.
Have you gotten to that in the show yet?
No,
I haven't made it there yet in the show.
How have I gotten farther in the show than you guys? This is bizarre. So they do, from what you described, they do a great job of that. But with, I don't have that background in comic books, and I've thoroughly enjoyed all of the Marvel shows on Netflix. So they've done a good job of not only that weren't necessarily into comic books, while still providing the little Easter eggs here and there for the people who were. So they've done a good job of all of that.
Yeah, I definitely like the fan service that they give there, but like you're saying, you don't have to have this, years and years long back history with the franchise or whatever to be able to enjoy it.
It's kind of interesting to me that Marvel has really been killing it at the movie theater, but hasn't had a lot of success on the small screen other than Netflix. But DC has been killing it on the CW and on the small screen with Gotham on Fox and of course the show we were going to talk about next, Flash. And the thing is, they don't treat it as seriously as Marvel and Netflix is treating the other things. It's a lighter show. It's sort of more family friendly, more family oriented, but they do such a good job with it.
So, I mean, they're a little bit hit or miss recently. We've been following Arrow and enjoying that. The Flash has been really good. They haven't really sort of slumped on that one. Arrow, especially the last season, started getting a little rough around the edges, but I'll be willing to wait and see where they go. They're bringing in Supergirl this season. Like you said, they're doing Gotham on Fox. So yeah, DC is definitely doing a lot better on the small screen than they are. Well, I mean, Netflix is kind of that, but it's an in-between space.
Yeah. So the Flash season premiere and the Arrow season premiere, I know we don't have an Arrow as a topic. The one thing I will say about Arrow, if you haven't seen it, that kind of shocked me. I was like,
I haven't seen it.
Oh, all right. Well, I won't say anything about it then, but maybe they detected, maybe their ratings have dropped just a little bit because, it's a little edgier, I think, this year. So Flash, what's that?
Well, before we move on to the Flash, I just wanted to say one quick thing about the small screen for DC versus Marvel. Marvel has the problem that they're trying to tie everything together. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has to feed into the movies, and then it has to weave in and out. DC doesn't have that problem. From the trailer I saw for, was it Justice League, I think? They just went with a completely different actor for Flash, and they're just separate.
Yeah, two separate universes, TV and I like the fact that they're not restricting TV by saying, well, we can't have Superman on TV and we can't have these characters on TV because they're in the movie. They've just gone ahead and said, you know what? People want to see Superman on the small screen. They want to see him on the big screen. Go ahead.
Two different universes. Yeah,
Give the people what they want.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been hit or miss for Marvel on the small screen. It's, I enjoy it. I'm still watching it. I still have half of last season on DVR though, so I'm not watching it.
It was problematic for me because I forget which. I think it was the first season, and I can't remember which movie it was. Which one of the I don't know if it was Avengers or anyway, whichever movie it was. If you were going to watch the movie and you watched the next episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. before seeing the movie, it spoiled the entire movie.
Yeah, the
I was like,
Winter Soldier is the one that tied into it. Captain America Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
With
that's
okay,
Contra and everything.
yeah,
the problem there with trying to maintain continuity between the big screen and the small screen is a problem with Agents of Shield. They need to figure that out because it's exactly what you said. They're not, not all of us can get out opening weekend and see the movie. And when you wait 1 week and then suddenly it spoils it for you, that's a downer.
yeah. I think I warned you not to watch the next episode of Shield until you'd seen the movie.
And I didn't listen. I think I watched it. I was not happy.
That was a big turning point in the movie. And I kind of would have been pissed off if I had that spoiled for me. So yeah, that was a weird movie, Agents of Shield sort of tie-in, and they've kind of divorced them a lot more now. Shield doesn't exist in the cinematic universe, or not really, and they're really undercover, but they're pretty much not there, and that gives them a little more freedom to not have to have things bleed over quite so soon.
Yeah,
But
and then they can cherry pick characters from the movies every so often. The lesser characters, they're probably not going to snag like Thor or anybody like that. So.
I don't think Robert Downey Jr. is going to be on Agents of Shield anytime soon.
You would say no, you wouldn't think, but he is a pretty cool guy, and he strikes me as the kind of guy that if he felt like doing, he would just do it. Because he would do it for his kid. If his son said, I've been watching Agents of Shield, you should go on there, Dad. He'd be like, sure, what the hell? He just strikes me as that kind of person. He seems like a person who's eternally grateful to have the success at this point in life that he does, to have sort of a second career. And it really, yeah. So I don't mean to drag us back to Flash, but the season premiere, you said you did watch it, right, Mitch?
Yeah, I watched it.
I have not.
You did not. All right. So,
and just to warn you, I haven't seen most of the last season yet either. So.
Oh, all right. Well,
do you need me to walk away for a minute? I can.
I think you're good. I think we can talk around this. So things tie up at the end of the last season, and there is. I'm trying to dance around this a little bit for Tim. So there's a comic. Did you read any of the comics? No. All right. So a Flashpoint event in the comics, which is a multi-comic event. My son's really into the Flash, so he was telling me about it. I don't read the Flash myself, but apparently they did the whole Flashpoint crisis thing in a single episode.
Yeah.
So he essentially goes and screws up time by going back in time and saving his mother, and it changes everything in the future. And he starts to lose his powers, and he has to go back in time and set things right, or everything just goes sideways, completely sideways.
He's playing guitar and his arm starts to disappear. And sorry, I'm crossing the streams.
Don't cross the streams.
And the doctor is like, "We got to get back to the future."
So yeah, he screws things up, and he's got to figure out a way to put things right.
Yeah, he stepped on a butterfly and had to experience the butterfly effect. So I thought it was pretty good. I had a little bit of heartache with him making the decision to go back and try to fix things. The reason that he goes back, I was a little bit like, really? That's all it took? But I think maybe I was interpreting it wrong. I think it was probably other reasons that, he went back. But I thought it was a solid beginning, a solid start to the season. They never ceased to not surprise me on that show. I love the fact that the writers of that show pay homage to what came before them and to the original Flash show by having Wesley Shipp, I believe his name is, be his father. Yeah. And so I like that. We talked a little bit before about them bringing Mark Hamill back, which I like that on two fronts. One, I love the fact that Mark Hamill was willing to do that and come back on the show and be the jester, and the fact that they just continued it on, just like if you'd watched the original show, you knew who the character was, and they picked it right up with him in jail. And I was like, wow, that's such a great way to do that. So I like the way the showrunners, the decisions they make on that show. I think they're pretty smart.
Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they tie in Supergirl to the universe. You know, maybe that's all part of the fallout from the Flashpoint episode. The universes have collapsed, and so it makes more sense. I don't know, but I'll be interested to see it play out. And kind of wonder if that affects his powers at all this season as well. If he's got to deal more with that.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about segueing into Flash's buddy, Batman. I saw this article I read where Ben Affleck gave the tentative name for the movie as The Batman. And I remember thinking, well, I hope he puts more effort into the script that he's writing, because he's decided he was a little embarrassed by Batman v Superman, and he should have been. But I love the fact that he's not going to quit. He's not going to give up and just walk away from the franchise. He's like, give me this. I will write the movie that I want to play in. And I have confidence in him because I've seen the things he's done before. I have a feeling it's going to be a good movie no matter what the title is.
Yeah, I just recently Batman versus Superman. It was
painful.
2 hours too long.
Yeah, I mean, you could have cut that movie down into an hour and a half movie and it would have been fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know that we want to go into.
Yeah, I wasn't planning to. I just
Batman versus Superman. I'm sure it's been beaten to death on the internet at this point. But yeah, it was not a great movie. I mean, he recognizes that it wasn't, that there were problems, and he wants to make the Batman franchise in this larger cinematic universe that DC's trying to put together better going forward. But yeah, Todd's point of him calling it the Batman, not being very creative. He did come back a little bit later, and he was like, "Listen, we haven't made the movie. This isn't a final title, but I just threw something out there as like a working title. You got to give him a little bit of slack." But I hope that he can pull it off. That he finds a happy medium between Batman versus Superman and the original, the first Nolan Batman. I thought that had good. It was a good take on that, even though it was its own standalone universe, and it went into a weird direction with the third movie. But if he can get a better plot than both our mom's name is Martha, and that's
you've got to save Martha. You gotta save Martha.
Low bar is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he was not what was wrong with that movie. He was probably the best thing in that movie. So I'm kind of excited to see him in a complete Batman movie, because I thought they did a good job with him when he wasn't in the Superman killing suit. His Hulk smashing suit. When he was just going in to save Martha. That fight scene was great. It was believable to me. He was one of the first Batman I've ever seen that his fight scenes and everything, I thought they were spot on perfect. So this movie, I'm hoping to see more of that. I like the suit. It reminds me of Arkham City, and I loved it playing those games, and that's kind of what he looks like to me in that costume. So I'm still looking forward to it, because I think it'll be so much better than the last movie. And hopefully they'll tell maybe something about what happened to Robin.
I thought his performance was kind of meh.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I think his performance was better when he's in the suit than when he was out of the suit. And I'm not sure I like his Bruce Wayne all that much, but
it was.
So I only have a couple things on this. So the title being The Batman, even if that's just a working title, if it's a final title, I'm fine with it. Most of the previous movies have he's the Batman's been referenced as the Bat, or actually the Batman in some of the previous movies. So that it doesn't seem lazy to me. It seems like it's tying into the previous movies. And then secondly, the thing I really want to know is Robin. He's going to be Matt Damon. It's got to be.
Matt Damon will come in as Nightwing. He used to be Robin, and now he's graduated to a full, I'm a big boy superhero. So that way they can pal it up if they want to. But
that's a good idea. We talked about that at lunch. That is a good idea. If they do introduce Robin at all, he should be Nightwing. That would be the best way to do it, because
and not Matt Damon,
and probably not Matt Damon. He could be the guy from the last. What's the actor's name from Third Rock from the Sun?
Oh, you're talking the guy from the Nolan movies?
The guy from the Nolan movies from the last one. If they really wanted to, they could throw him in as Nightwing. I would be fine with that. If he, maybe he needs to hit the gym a little bit and beef up some, but I could see him.
Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yes. I was going to say he's a 3-name guy. One of those 3-name guys.
I was racking my brain, and you pulled it out.
The only 3-name guys you can think of, they're either assassins or actors. Sorry, I took us off with that. I can't say it. Lemony Snicket. So you were telling us that a series of unfortunate events is something Netflix is doing. I would not be that interested in it until you said it's something Netflix is doing.
So yeah, I guess Netflix is a darling for the podcast here. We seem to be huge fans of all their stuff. We're talking about a few of their shows just in this episode. But yeah, so Lemony Snicket is a series of books, series of unfortunate events, children's books. They made a movie a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, with Jim Carrey. It was complete and total shit. Maybe I'm being unfair. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I wasn't.
It was shit.
Okay.
Well, alrighty then.
But the books are really smart. They're really well done, and I want to see somebody take the material and do something great with it. The way Marvel not Marvel, Netflix has been doing it. And the bit that made me really excited, not just Netflix. It has Patrick Warburton starring as Lemony Snicket, talking through this thing, and I could listen to the man read a phone book. If he's a certain type of character, right? But if you have that character, he is the man to get for that character.
Yeah, if you have that character in mind, he's your A choice every time.
Yeah, he's got a great voice. So yeah, I love seeing him in things. I loved him in the Tick, the cartoon series, the live action Tick, which was terrible, but I loved seeing him play it out on screen. And I was kind of sad that they didn't get him for the remake they're doing of the live action Tick. But yeah, I love him. Love everything he does. So
Spoon. Yeah, that should be. I'll give it a try just on your recommendation, and because it's Netflix. I mean, that's for me how strong their reputation is at this point. That I'll give it a try. I mean, it was like Stranger Things. I didn't really want to watch that, and I gave it a try, and I was hooked. So
I was all in after the first episode of that. But yeah, Lemony Snicket's something that my daughter and I can watch. 11-year-old daughter and I can watch together, and my 14-year-old son and I can watch together. And the material's good enough that if they do a good job, we can sit around as a family and enjoy that together. Whereas I could watch Jessica Jones with them, or I'm currently right now not watching Luke Cage with them, even though it's a comic book series, franchise, whatever. It's riding the line a little too much. Even Daredevil's, riding the edge. a lot, and that was tame compared to like Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then the last movie we have on here, I'm not looking forward to quite so much, but it seems like they want to cash in on the name. My favorite ride at Disneyland, it's Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know why it's my favorite ride. It just is. It's so janky. Uh, the animatronic guys. They ruined it when they put Johnny Depp in the end of it. He's actually, I don't know if you guys have seen it or seen any videos of it, but they actually put a animatronic Johnny Depp at the end of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney World, and it's terrible.
Good old Captain Jack Sparrow. We talked a little bit before about why I think they made this movie. I think Javier Bardem must have been available, and he always plays the bad guy, and they were like, well, we need a good bad guy if we're going to do one of these movies. If we can get Javier Bardem, maybe we should do a movie. Because Johnny Depp's always available. He'll be happy to come in and put on his eye makeup and do his Keith Richards imitation, as long as they pay him.
They have Johnny Depp, and they have somebody who's a solid, amazing actor that they pull in, and you go, oh, I kind of want to see what he's going to do in this movie. And then they just do something. I don't know.
And it'll probably make money.
It'll make money.
Yeah. It'll make more money for the evil Disney franchise, or the evil Disney empire. I say that, but don't they own Netflix? Do they own? Probably.
They own Marvel.
Yeah, they own Marvel. They actually own everything. I think they own this house I'm in.
So, I don't know. They're doing a good job. I'm not going to call them evil yet.
So the thing that I'm seeing in this article that really worries me about the movie, aside from the fact that it really didn't need to be made, the script was written by the same guy that wrote Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Oh, no. So this is where you need that oh, no sound effect from Image Burn.
Yeah. That right there is enough for me to, I wasn't going to see it in the theater. This is outrageous! But this might be enough to get me to skip it when it finally reaches Netflix too.
We watched the trailer. My kids and I watched the trailer, and even they groaned when they saw it. They were like, another one?
Yeah,
I feel like it's been too long.
Yeah, they're going back and making, I guess, rebooting the Indiana Jones franchise. They've just picked out their Indiana Jones.
Oh, they're doing that again?
One with Harrison Ford.
No, they're doing they've got a younger actor to play Indiana Jones, and they're doing a new indie movie. No Horse is Too Dead to Beat. So we'll see how that goes. Because I read that they picked out his leading lady, or they've narrowed it down to three actresses. I looked at the guy's picture, looked at his resume. I'm like, I realize I'm getting old because they're starting to reboot franchises that are dear to us with young people that, like, my kids know. Oh, I know who that is. They're in this movie. I haven't seen this movie. So I don't know who this person is. And I'm like, I wonder if this is how my parents felt when they stopped putting Gregory Peck and Paul Newman and everything. They're going to remake all the movies, but they're going to have all young actors in them. It's only a matter of time before they redo Star Wars even.
Yeah, so it looks like there actually is supposed to be 2 Indiana Jones things coming out. There's Indiana Jones 5, which is a Harrison Ford movie, and then the reboot happens after that one.
Well, I mean, I don't know that he could have done many more movies beyond this 5th one. I think 4 was pushing it, and 5 is really, really pushing it. I mean, I love Harrison Ford, but he's getting a little old for Indiana Jones.
But he's a tough old guy.
Force Awakens did the right thing. That's all I'm saying.
When he got cut in half and fell down a shaft.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a tough dude. I don't want to talk bad about him because he strikes me as the kind of guy who would drive out here and kick my ass, and that would be really embarrassing to have some 75-year-old dude kick your ass. So, um, but yeah, I don't think we really need another Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movie. Not after the Crystal Skull.
Indiana Jones is about the action sequences. It's about him getting into crazy situations and then getting out of them by the seat of his pants, just completely and totally lucking his way through these terrible situations. And I love him, but he's just a little too old to be doing that kind of shit and make it believable.
Yeah, I agree. It's what is the actor's name who was in the Transformers movie?
What, Shia LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf. I think that after being in a movie with Shia LaBeouf, Harrison Ford has earned his rest. He can ride off into the sunset. But maybe he feels like he has to make another one to erase the bad memory of that movie. Some people don't want to go out on a loser. They're like, I want to do one last one. Look at Peyton Manning. He wanted to go out with a Super Bowl ring that he had nothing to do with actually getting. And we just lost Tim.
Just lost his camera.
I'm still here. I just need to plug my computer in. Apparently, it's not plugged in.
Ruh-roh.
Raggy. Well, that takes us to the end of the topics, unless we want to spend a little time talking about video games. We don't have anything queued up in our list for video games, but I put that thing in there of World of Tanks. I was going to ask Tim if he's ever played World of Tanks because I read a thing saying it was one of the most popular games in the world, and it took me back to my Atari 2600 and the tanks game that came with it. How much I just loved playing the game, moving your tank around the little maze, it was only fun when you were playing another person because there's nothing like maneuvering around behind somebody and then watching them try to turn around and shooting them right in the ass. That was so satisfying.
You're talking about combat?
Combat. Was it combat or tanks? Maybe it was
the
combat.
Atari game?
Yeah, the Atari 2600.
Combat. It also had like the planes and.
I only played the tank part of it. I never really liked the plane one, and I particularly liked the tanks where you could rebound, you could ricochet the shots off of the walls, and I loved that game. So when I saw World of Tanks, I was like, is this a modern day version of that? Maybe I should go out and give this a try. Apparently, it's really popular.
It's very popular, and it's very, from what I've seen, it's focused on realism. So you have realistic, the actual tank models, historical tank models. I played it briefly. There was, I don't know if it's like it's free to play, isn't it? Yeah. So I played it, and it was entertaining. If I was more into historical gaming and tanks, it would have been a blast. But it's it's like any other tactical combat game. Massively multiplayer. It brought me back to playing. Oh God, I don't know. Battlefield 1942. I think was the one that had the tanks. So it was definitely a lot of fun. I personally couldn't see spending a lot of time in there just because it's not the tank thing isn't really my thing.
Not your cup of tea.
Definitely not my cup of tea. No. I thoroughly enjoyed playing Battlefield. It had a combination of tanks, and maybe it was a mod that I was playing on Battlefield because I want to say it wasn't the part of the base game, but there was tanks, helicopters, planes, and these were like the modern helicopters, modern tanks, and things like that. I remember playing a desert map, but that was a lot of fun. Trying to negotiate, all the different types of units. But if it's just tanks, it's a first-person shooter with tanks.
If I could pull myself away from Fallout 4 I might go out and give it a try. It's funny how I was just obsessed with Call of Duty 4 or Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Black Ops 3. God, I don't even know what I've been playing, but I've been playing nothing but that all summer long. And then the other day, after we had our discussion about the No Man's Sky, and I dug out my Fallout 4 game I finally found and put it in there, and I realized I hadn't gotten all that far in it. I can't stop playing it now. Today I got a gamma ray gun, and I was so excited. I was like, yes, just like Gamma World, I've got a gamma gun. I haven't actually shot anything with it yet because I spent the rest of the afternoon farming, setting up farms and putting water wells in, and it was kind of a change of pace for me from running around killing things. I was like, I think I'll take some time out from destroying and create life.
It sounds like a terrible game.
Oh, the funny thing is I'm working on this teleporter to try to get to the Institute. And I go up to ask the guy who's working on it for me. He's like, if you want to do me a favor, we need water. Go build a water thing. I'm like, okay, that's something to do while you do that. And I run off, and then I started kind of getting into it. I'm like, all right, I put water over here. I put a water purifier down in the stream here, and then I go back, and he's like, now we need food.
Happy thing is just a mini game on its own. Just that was the mini game that I stopped playing when I stopped playing Fallout 4. I built up settlements all over the wasteland. I was like, well, I've explored everything. I've built up all the settlements. Everybody's happy. I don't know where the story went, but
you're bringing peace and happiness. You're like Johnny Appleseed. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm doing. I'm joining all the groups, making friends with everybody now, and getting people who say they'll be there to rescue me, the Minutemen, if I get into any trouble, and I'm kind of enjoying that, but I'm going to have to get back to the main mission of finding my son. And I'm almost there. Once I get the teleportation beam interceptor thing, transmission interceptor built, I believe then I'll finally be able to go to the Institute and continue on with the main storyline.
And he'll stab you and push you down a shaft.
I just want to say
Probably.
that game, the father in that game, or mother, depending on how you set up your character, is the absolute worst parent on the planet. You step out of this thing, your child is missing, your infant child is missing, and they say, well, you've got to go find Sean, or Sean is his name? I can't remember. And then they go, but these guys need water, and then you spend 3 days, setting up an irrigation system, and then you go and take care of everyone else's problem in the entire area. And I realized I was maybe 50 hours into the game, and I had no clue anything. I had no leads whatsoever about Sean. Sean was he was gone. Maybe I'll stumble across Sean. Maybe I shot Sean on day 2 because he was a raider. I don't know. And I didn't care. So, yeah, I never finished the main storyline.
No, I'm hoping to. So I'll let you know. I'll spend some more quality time doing that tomorrow. I'll try to catch up on more Luke Cage. And most importantly, I want to watch the second Westworld that I didn't know was out. I would have watched that today if I'd known it was out. And so those are the things I've got to chew up today. I think I've got a lot of Supergirl to watch if I want to start watching that this year. It's on Netflix, so I watched like 2 episodes. But that strikes me as the kind of show where I probably don't need to watch them all. I could probably pick up season 2 just fine and not miss out on anything.
Yeah, I think you'd be able to jump in.
Supergirl? Supergirl first season was pretty good, and if you're planning on watching Flash, there were crossover episodes.
And I never got to see that one, so I've got to go back and watch that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if either of you care that much, but CitizenCon is this weekend, and they're just doing live stream stuff yesterday and today, and then tomorrow is the big live event with Chris Roberts talking about new expansion stuff and all that.
Did you see the what they've been hinting at?
No, I
There's
watched the live stream yesterday, but I didn't watch today. I was doing other things.
So it's it's called the Polaris. It's a Corvette. They gave 2 of them away today.
Oh, wow.
And there's, depending on, I forget what the qualifications were. There was like the concierge people, the subscribers, and there was a third group, I think, got early access to purchase it. And it looks nice enough that I'm seriously considering swapping some ships out. And total number of ships I have, but going with the Polaris. It's huge. And
For anybody that's confused, we're talking about Star Citizen.
yes. Yeah. It's supposed to be able to carry one full-sized fighter. So I don't know if that means Hornet or any other ship of that size. It's supposed to be able to repair, rearm, have it actually dock inside the Corvette. And then it's got turrets all over the place. It's a ridiculously huge ship. I'm just waiting for them to do the full reveal to get a good estimate of the actual size, and I'm sure they'll have one of their little commercials like they have for all the other ships that they've.
I want to know how
shown
much
off at this.
that requires.
Yeah, I want to know what kind of crew it requires, and if I'm actually going to do this, I'm going to probably have to lose. I'm going to have to make a choice of which cargo ship to lose to melt down in order to do it, because I'm not going to spend any more money on it. So I either have to get rid of the Starfarer or the Banu Merchantman. And I've seen the Starfarer. It's in the hangar now, so I've explored it. It looks really nice. I haven't seen the Merchantman yet, so do I? Which one do I go with? Do I melt down the one I've never seen yet, or the one I have seen? I don't know. But we'll see, because depending on the cargo carrying capacity, like if you don't have a fighter there, can you use that bay as cargo? Because that, I think, could be.
It seems like the way that they're going, they want you to be able to mod things out the way that you want to play anyway. Any of these ships, if they've got cargo area or weapons, ports or whatever, you can jam whatever you want to on those spots or in those spots. So.
Yeah, but there's still pesky realism thing. Cargo bay, they probably won't have cargo tie downs. They'll probably just have stuff to dock a ship there. And as soon as wouldn't be too much of an issue in space. And of course, I don't even know if this thing can even land. That's the other thing. It might not even be able to land on the planet.
On its side.
It might be too big. Yeah. So you'd have to have some other way of ferrying the cargo off of it. So I'll hit up the forums and see what the live stream looks like tomorrow. I think I forget when the pre-sale ends for the subscribers and things.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see the live stream tomorrow. Jen's been out of town. My wife has been out of town this week, and she's coming back in tomorrow afternoon. So it's going to be like right in the middle of the live stream, and then I'm not going to sit on the computer after she gets back from being away for 4 or 5 days.
What are you going to do instead?
One more day.
One more day. I'm going to pay attention to my wife.
Very smart choice. Very smart choice.
Speaking of paying attention to your wife, it's 10:59. I think it's about time we wrap up the show. Try to stay on schedule.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to do one last follow-up from the previous week. The SanDisk thing that you brought up last week.
Oh, yeah.
So I completely overlooked a major use case for that, which would be camcorders. It didn't even occur to me. I'm 4K video also. I got completely lost down the Pro 4K DSLR mirrorless rabbit hole that I completely overlooked camcorders. That's a great use for it. And then secondly, I was saying that I really wish SanDisk would release faster cards. They did this week. So they actually have cards now that the same write speeds as the new compact fast.
So they can start to actually approach USB 3's actual throughput capacity finally?
I don't think so, but they're in terms of the write speeds, they are on par with the CFast devices. They just don't have the read speeds yet. So the CFast devices still outpace them on read speeds, like 515 megs a second or something like that. Whereas the SD cards are only 300 megs a second. But the write speeds are for both are right around 260, 280 megs a second. So I saw that was a couple days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. So it was just the timing of that. I was like, hey, all right, they're listening to me. Never seen this podcast.
No one has. Not unless my kids are running SanDisk.
Yeah, just on a lark, I went out and looked at the one live episode we've got up, and to see, who's been watching, the 12 or 18 views that we have, and it let me break it down by where it's being watched, and I said U.S., and I said okay, I click on that, and I open it up, and what states are we getting views from? And there were 2 states, I won't name them, but 2 states in particular that might sound familiar to the people who are making this podcast. So, yeah, I don't know that we've really caught on yet, that we've found our groove.
It's a work in progress.
I can confirm a 4th person has actually seen it. My wife.
Yeah. My daughter and her boyfriend watched it today. And my daughter looked at me and she goes, "This is boring." I'm like, well, you're an 18-year-old girl and you're not really the target audience. I'm not sure who the target audience is.
I think we're the target.
The 3 of us.
Yeah.
Just the 3 of us. Yeah. Mission accomplished then. All right.
All right. Well,
in your office.
I think we should wrap it up then. I had a lot of fun. So I'm Mitch.
I'm Todd with no outro music.
I was working on it. I didn't want to.
Oh, all right. I'm Todd.
I'm Tim.
And we are the Grizzled Geeks. All right. Thanks.